Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we will be ranking every single album from Nine Inch Nails' discography. Before we get into it though, I don't usually rank music, and my taste isn't that great, so please don't hate me in the comments, but feel free to share your opinions now. Let's continue on with the video. So we have a list here. Amazing tier are their best projects. Great would also be really good, but just below like their best releases. Decent is also really good. There may be a couple of skips throughout the album. Meh is like just it's like half the songs or like a little bit less than half the songs I'd probably skip. Like it's okay, but not great. But not good. It's just I don't like it at all. We are starting off kind of strong with Pretty Hate Machine. Now, I like this album a lot. There's a couple of songs I don't like on it. I feel like most of them are pretty good. I like Head Like a Hole, Terrible Lie, Sin. There's a couple of them though I don't like. Like Kinda I Want To is not one of my personal favorites. Sanctified is also not one of my favorites. There's also The Only Time and Get Down, Make Love. I'm not really proud of it. But there's a lot of good songs in this album. I'm really sticking towards great and decent, but I feel like we'll put it on great. So now we have the Broken EP. The Broken EP features a lot of good tracks like Wish, Last, and Gave Up. There's also a couple of instrumental tracks on this and a couple of other extra tracks. Now, the story behind this is their like basically their record company said they didn't want to have like anything as bad. Like they wanted to be a little bit more chill. So Nine Inch Nails decided to make um like a record that had a lot of it's a pretty disturbing record, especially with the music video that was banned that they created for it as well. I would say though, paired with the music video and just the story behind all of it, um, it'd be decent. There's a couple of skips, if I'm being honest. I'm not a big fan of the instrumental tracks. Physical is Physical and Suck are okay. Last, I'm kind of it's okay. My favorite would probably Gave Up, Wish, and Wish. Now, the Downward Spiral. This is one of my personal favorites, and I think it is for everybody else who likes Nine Inch Nails. This is their most disturbing concept album they've ever released, and I feel like once you play this, it's like kind of like a movie, like without any visuals though. It's really cool. It basically talks about a man's path through self-destruction. Um, a lot of these songs on this record, some of them individually aren't so good, like Piggy, Big Man with a Gun, and a couple of others. But as a whole album, it's really good. Like it's kind of like taking a chapter out of a book. My favorites on this record are probably Mr. Self Destruct, Hurt, Ruiner, I like a lot, March of the Pigs, and there's a couple of other good ones. Now we're on to Fragile. I personally, this is a really good album. There's a lot of songs on here that I really like. Um, and there's also some instrumental tracks, and it's also a concept album. Um, it's not as good as the Downward Spiral, even though it's like doubled its length. I'm gonna have to put it below the Downward Spiral. My favorites on this album would probably be Somewhat Damaged, The Day the World Went Away, The Fragile, No You Don't, Please, um, and there's a couple other really good ones that I like. I'm not a big fan of the instrumentals on this one, except Pilgrimage. I like Pilgrimage, but I would have to put it below Downward Spiral. Now we're on to Still. This is not a common album, if I'm being completely honest. It's basically a remastered, like it takes some of the songs from the previous albums and turns them more slow paced and piano and kind of it's a little bit more classical and it has a more sad atmosphere to it. And there's also features some new ones like Adrift and at Peace and All That Could Have Been, Leaving Hope. But this for me, I like it. I like the remakes, but there's a couple of songs that I wouldn't find myself listening to. I would put this above Pretty Hate Machine now, and I'd put it at G. Now we're to With Teeth. Now, I have some strong opinions about this album. I really love it. I really love most of the songs on it. Probably my least favorites would be The Collector, With Teeth, and Right Where It Belongs off this record. But this is my favorite Nine Inch Nails album of all time. And it's kind of a concept album. It gets very vague if you listen to it throughout the whole thing compared to the Downward Spiral. Oh, did not mean to do that. But this for me is is top of A. Okay, Year Zero. This is a very interesting album. It was paired with an escape room game, which is actually kind of cool, which is taking place in a dystopian future and talks about like drugs that affect everybody. And I saw stuff coming from the sky. It's a really cool and stuff. It also mentions the government and like how it takes control of stuff. This is a really good album though. I love it. It's one of their best concept albums up there with Downward Spiral and Fragile. There's just the instrumentation on it, I find could be a little bit better, even though it's the atmosphere of it. I feel like my least favorites would be Hyperpower, The Great Destroyer. I'm also the My Violent Heart isn't the best, but yeah, this I would say it's good. I like most of the songs on it. I would say it would be above. It'd probably be top G tier. Okay, so Nine Inch Nails released a new album in 2008, right? Everybody's so excited, and when you listen to it, it's like, what, what is that? Like, why would you just want? It's so hard to properly rank it just because it's not really cohesive. It's just a bunch of instrumental tracks, and I only find myself having a couple of them on my playlist just because I actually enjoy them. But this, for its style and like just the way they switched up, I don't like it. Okay, now we're on to the Slip. I like this album a lot. I like all the songs on it. It's very more rock based instead of like just kind of switching back, even though the instrumentals on this are not very they don't really have any cohesive like they're just kind of set there and it doesn't this album is kind of all over the place. Like it starts with the track called 9999 and it's kind of just a small instrumental track and then it also has Corona Radio, The Four of Us is Dying. And all the other tracks on this I would find are really good. There's just a couple skips on it, which is why I would put it I'd put it above Pretty Hate Machine in G tier. Hesitation marks. This I feel like is a very forgettable record, and I only find myself going back to a couple tracks on this record, like Everything, Into, I Would For You. And also Find My Way is okay, but most of these songs I've listened to this whole album, it's not good, if I'm being honest. It seems like a different switch up. Like it feels more like everything kind of feels a little bit more poppy instead of industrial rock. Um, but it's a weird switch up. Especially with their last album being an instrumental, then before that being a little bit more like rock. But now it's just going back to I don't know. It's falling in between stuff. So it's it's not one of my favorites. I'd have to put it in meh. Okay, not the actual events. This track was released in 2016 and features 5 tracks. Now, the only track I like on this one would probably be Branches Slash Bones. The other ones I don't feel I just don't know. I just don't know about this album. Like it's kind of like all the tracks are like very like in between for me, so I can't properly rank it. But like I like the first track, I like the opening of it, even though the lyrics are very interesting to say the least. Although it's on par for Trent Reznor's kind of style. But also, Atticus Ross is also on this, which is why it's a very different switch up. I'm gonna have to put this in. Um, I put that in May, right above Hesitation Mark. Okay, we now have Add Violence, the 2017 release after 1 year after Not the Actual Events. It also features 5 tracks, which my favorites from this would be Less Than and This Isn't the Place. The other ones they're kind of I don't know. They're a little bit wishy-washy for me. I don't really like this one, if I'm being honest. They don't really go with the theme of the first song off this album, but it's just this for me would also be it'd be above these in meh tier. Okay, now we're on to Bad Witch, their 2018 release featuring 6 songs this time. And It feels on par with all the three of these in M tier. It feels like after 2009, their slip release, it all goes downhill. And I don't like that for them because it's kind of seeing where is it going to go after this, right? We have three total more. Where is it going after that? But Bad Witch, the vocals are very interesting on this record, if I'm being honest, and most of the songs are instrumental, and they're very experimental and don't really go anywhere. But I do find myself going back to the first two on this album, Shit Mirror and Ahead of Ourselves. I do like Ahead of Ourselves a lot just because I just like the style of it. But first one I would say like Shit Mirror, it kind of like jumps in between kind of things. Like some of the vocals on it are like really weird. And then the other one, like there's a part in the middle where it kind of just like switches tune completely and it just throws me off. But I'll have to put this probably above not the actual events. We now have Ghost 5 Together, which was released in 2020 along with Ghost 6. I find with titles on it instead of just labeling as numbers, it gives a little bit more life to it. So I find when you look at all the tracks, it makes sense in kind of a narrative way. I like the way it goes with the songs. But I, like I said, this definitely isn't D tier. This definitely would be in M tier somewhere, and I feel like it'd be below Add Violence just because my it's like it's different. It's different for them, and I don't think they should take a path of having instrumentals. My favorites off this one would probably be Your Touch, Letting Go While Holding On. And Go 6, also released in 2020. It's very feels like an OST, and I'm not a big fan of OST stuff, especially from a rock band who's released all this kind of stuff that has a lot of words in it and has a lot of meaning to it. But it's not it for me. I don't know why. It's like the music on it is just very it's not really cohesive. It's kind of all over the place, and it's just not the best. So I have to put it below. I'll have to put it below Bad Witch. So we have With Teeth, Downward Spiral for the Fragile in A tier. Gear Zero still the Slip and Pretty Hate Machine in G. Well, actually, I think we could move D. These are basically both the same for me. So we have Broken and Pretty Hate Machine on D tier. M tier, we have Less Than, goes 5. Bad Witch goes 6. Not the actual events with hesitation marks. Actually, I'm going to probably put this on par with all these three. These three are a little better. These three are the worst of that tier, and then not good. We have that. This is my final ranking. Um, as you can tell, my music taste is very diverse, especially in set with a. If it has a lot of words, if you open up with your tracks with a lot of words, and then slowly, progressively have less words and a little bit more experimental stuff, which is fine, but like it definitely throws you off from when you start listening to their earlier stuff and then go to their new stuff. It's just like, how did we get to that point? Like, I'm just not a big fan of their newer stuff. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I like this. I like some of the tracks on on these records, but some of them just throw me off a lot, and it's definitely a curveball. But anyway, this is my final ranking. I don't usually rank music, so let me know what your opinions are and what I could do better. Um, and yeah, feel free to let me know in the Discord server what you would like me to rank next. And I'll definitely be open to it. Anyways, thank you for watching. Also, in the description, I will tell like my favorite tracks from each album. If you guys want a little bit more of an explanation and stuff like that, I'll probably put them in the description. Put like my maybe top 10. And yeah,